Welcome to Anti-Woke and Autistic. Today's young generation, young adults, even people in their teens, anybody in their teens through their 30s basically is so incredibly weak, mentally, psychologically weak, fragile, impressionable, extremely easily manipulated, gullible, naive, weak-minded, just any synonym that means weak-minded and psychologically fragile. That describes today's young generation. And I was reminded about this by an article that I found on hercampus.com. The article has Thanksgiving in the title, but it also applies to Christmas, New Year's, and Easter, or any big holiday related feast, even July 4th feast, even a feast you might have on Halloween, or a birthday party, a reunion, a wedding, what have you. Now, the title of the article is How I Plan to Stay Body Positive Over Thanksgiving Break. Again, this advice she's giving and what I'm going to react to, how I'm going to react, applies to any break where there's going to be a lot of food. It could be spring break, like I said, weddings, reunions, Easter, Christmas, of course. Christmas is coming up. So that's the title of the story. The author is Andrea McCoy Sains, and she must be incredibly psychologically weak, just incredibly weak. One paragraph in her article stands out. The rest of the article is just your basic run of the mill, catch all body positive stuff. When you're around people and food, nothing really stands out about it. Staying off social media in the hours leading up to the meal. Now, I suppose that doesn't sound too bad if somebody decides to stay off social media in the hours leading up to the meal, but it actually, if you feel you must stay off social media in the hours leading up to a big meal, that means you're extremely gullible, extremely impressionable, and very easily manipulated and prone to being brainwashed. Your bigger problem, your problem isn't the meal. It isn't the possibility of weight gain. Your problem is your gullibility and your proneness to being influenced by other people you don't even know, to the point where it threatens your mental health, your self-worth. Something is very wrong in the mental health department. That's your problem, not the big turkey and all the stuffing and the apple pie. She says, social media plays such a big role in my life, and as much as I want to deny it, my self-esteem. I tend to heavily compare my life, but more specifically, my looks, to those I see online and how I compare to them, or how I could change myself to look more like them. Limiting how much I scroll on Instagram or TikTok before eating, or even just in general, will greatly impact how positively I view myself. So that's what she says. And I see a woman who has severe psychological problems. Social media plays such a big role in my life. Yeah, okay, it does in many people's lives, but not all of them have this problem. Social media shouldn't play a big role in anybody's life. It just shouldn't. Some people make a living off of social media, and so they're absorbed in it in that sense. But if she's not making a living on social media, like, you got to research what the latest TikToks and Instagrams and YouTubes are and Twitter and stuff, I can understand spending a lot of time doing research in that sense and then creating content. Yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time. But if you're spending a lot of time just in your spare time on social media, you really need to rethink why you've abandoned the possibility of spending more time doing more mentally and physically and psychologically beneficial, productive activities. So the first line she says is that it impacts her self-esteem. How low must your self-esteem be that social media affects it. And she admits, as much as I want to deny it, but she says it's a fact that it harangues it messes with her self-esteem. If social media, whatever she's viewing on TikTok, if whatever you're viewing on TikTok or Instagram or reading on Twitter is ravaging your self-esteem, you're weak. You're weak. You need help. You need help. You need help. The second sentence says, I tend to heavily compare my life, but more specifically my looks, to those I see online. Now, I'm assuming she's comparing herself to people, to women who have who meet traditional beauty standards. Okay, they have very pretty faces, high cheekbones, nice looking eyes, nice looking hair, and they're slender. Maybe they have big boobs, curvy, just a typical sought after body, the true bikini body. These are strangers, apparently, she's comparing herself to. She's not saying that they're best friends or relatives or family members or coworkers, and even if they were, she still shouldn't be comparing. But why is her self esteem so shattered at a baseline? It's shattered at a baseline that she feels a need to compare her life, and more specifically, her appearance, to those she sees online. What is wrong with her? This goes beyond being mentally weak. This makes me wonder how much she was invalidated by her parents growing up. This is Psychology 101. You don't need a master's degree in child psychology to know, to speculate that she was probably repeatedly criticized growing up and invalidated and never received validation by her parents or whoever her primary caretakers were, and was probably made to feel defective or broken or never measuring up or not enough, made to feel worthless. But it's her responsibility at some point, as she becomes an adult, to overcome that. And I know it's not easy, but gee whiz, must you sink yourself and get lost into social media as a coping mechanism? I mean, if you want to have more self-esteem, like go to a powerlifting gym and take up powerlifting. Use time that you would spend on social media comparing yourself to strangers, and take that time and use it at a powerlifting gym. And then use some other time getting weekly counseling. Stay off of social media. It's like cocaine, it's like a drug. It can mess with your mind if you're inherently vulnerable, inherently from having a crap ass childhood where you were never made to feel important, where you were made to feel that you don't count, that you don't have any value. Again, this is Psychology 101. A master's in child psychology is not necessary to understand this basic stuff. Why is she comparing herself? Why is she comparing her life to those online? There are many people online whose life is worse than hers, in which they have more obstacles to always overcome. Maybe they have handicaps, disabilities, physical challenges. Maybe they're living in poverty. Maybe they don't have a car. Maybe they barely have a high school education, or they're working in a factory or at Walmart or someplace like that, where she has a cushy job as a journalist. I don't know what else she does for income, but something tells me she probably has a college degree. A lot of people don't. She probably drives a nice car and has lots of nice clothes. Many women don't. So why is she comparing her life to people online? What does she even know what kind of life these strangers have online? If they're standing in front of a mansion, how does she know it's their house, for instance? If there's a picture of them in a very pricey sports car, how does she know it's their car? It could be all it could be a friend's car, it could be all staged. It could be a car the person's taken on a test drive, a car from a car dealership, a $70,000 car they're taking on a test drive. So they park it somewhere on a nice ritzy street, and they sit on the car and they have a friend take their picture, and it creates the illusion that it's their car. People have to be more intelligent when they spend time on social media. You can't believe everything you see and read. How gullible and stupid can people be? And whose looks is she comparing herself to? Something, I'm going to be frank here. There's a lot of people on Instagram who are ugly. Who's she comparing herself to? If she wants to feel less defeated when she compares her looks to people on Instagram, then she should view the results of the hashtag. Now, I don't know if a hashtag like this exists, but ugly people or something like that, big noses, plain Janes, then that way maybe she'll feel better about herself when she can view pictures of all these women who don't look so hot. Maybe she could, I don't know if she's overweight. Her avatar looks like she's a little overweight. Maybe she could view pictures of women who are bigger than her. Maybe she could view pictures of women who are a lot smaller, as in Eugenia Cooney, and she could thank her lucky stars. She doesn't look like that. Maybe she could look at people who have amputations or some kind of visible disability, and she could then pump her self esteem up, self worth, and remind herself, well, gee, maybe my life isn't so crappy after all. These people have it a lot worse than me. I mean, really, that's playing hardball here, but maybe that's what she needs. How I could change myself to look more like them. Again, I'm assuming she means women who meet the standards of classic beauty standards. I mean, this woman has a really horrible self-esteem. It's negative. It's not even zero. It's negative. Why would you want to change yourself to look like some stranger? Now, I can understand if you want to alter your physical appearance in a way like for instance, a lot of women are naturally pale skinned. They would like to be darker. They would like to have a suntan type of tone of skin. Some women are very dark and would like to be lighter. Some women have straight hair and they get it permed. Some women with frizzy hair get it straightened. They dye their hair, they color their hair, they change their appearance, they put makeup on, they conceal their freckles, they get tattoos to have a different look to their body. They get their ears pierced, they get lip injections. There's all sorts of ways you could change your appearance. They get haircuts, they wear wigs and weaves, and but looking at a specific person, this is the impression that I'm getting, that she's looking at a specific influencer or somebody, maybe not necessarily an influencer, but just somebody she found on TikTok or Instagram. And she's thinking, I want to look more like them. So that means she hates herself. I mean, it's one thing if I see a woman with a muscular level of physique and I say to myself, man, I wish I had arms like that, because I'm always striving to be more muscular. And I've seen women with muscular bodies, and I'm thinking more muscular than mine, and I'm thinking, oh, I wish my deltoids were bigger and just more shredded. That's one thing, okay? That's one thing. Or I might see a woman with a natural tan at the gym. She just has it, like maybe she's of Hispanic descent, but she has just a natural bronze tone to her skin. And I might say to myself, I might think, I sure wish my skin were naturally that dark olive. But that doesn't mean I hate myself or I have poor self-esteem or something like that, or a mental health issue. Not at all, not at all. We've all seen women, oh, I wish my nails didn't break so much, and I wish I could grow my nails naturally long like my best friend. Or I wish my hair were naturally flaxen. I wish I didn't have to dye it blonde. Or I wish I had naturally full lips. I wish I didn't have to get lip injections. I wish my eyes were naturally blue, so I'm going to get blue contact lenses, even though I don't need contact lenses for my vision. Let's face it, there's people, that's just the way people are. Men too. Men wish they had more hair. Men wish they were taller. They wish they had a six pack. They wish they had broader shoulders. Maybe they wish they had a deeper voice. That's one thing. What this woman is talking about takes it to a whole new level where she's looking at somebody and I wish I could look more like them. I mean, that just doesn't sound right. That sounds deranged. Limiting how much I scroll on Instagram or TikTok before eating, or even just in general, will greatly impact how positively I view myself. Well, yeah, she's onto something there. Maybe if she would just get off social media, it just might improve her self esteem. Well, it will improve her self esteem. But the fact that social media has bashed her self esteem in the first place means that her baseline self esteem or her foundation was very weak to begin with. It's like a building with a weak foundation. As long as there's not an earthquake, it's going to stand, though a little bit shakily. I'm just being symbolic here. And then an earthquake just completely decimates the building. But then you have another building nearby, which is very strong, has a very strong baseline or foundation. And the earthquake, of course, doesn't affect that building at all. So her baseline is very weak. But if you have to avoid Instagram or TikTok before your big holiday meal, man, you are one messed up puppy. You are one messed up puppy. You need help. You need to get off of social media and you need to realize that what you see on social media isn't always what's real. There's different angles people pose. They have makeup on. They could be using filters or other tricks, lighting. They could be the picture could have been I don't know, there could have been some kind of manipulation. The picture could have been taken 2 months ago and posted yesterday, and in those 2 months that person could have gained 12 or 15 pounds and maybe doesn't even look like that anymore. I mean, come on. You gotta she has to stay away from TikTok and Instagram before a big meal. And she's not the only one, by the way. I'm sure a lot of women reading that are relating to that. It's resonating with them. She's not an anomaly. There's a lot of women who feel this way. There might be a few men out there, but the vast majority are women who feel this way, even though TikTok and Instagram are also full of men who have the bodies of Adonises, full heads of hair, high cheekbones, a square jaw, classic good looks for a man. But you don't hear about men. Men don't write this stuff. It's only from women. I have never seen an article like this written by a man or content like this created by a man. It's almost always a woman. And if you have to avoid TikTok or Instagram before you eat a meal, I mean, there's really something effed up about you. Something effed up. It goes back to childhood. It's got to. You can't blame it all on social media. All social media is a medium. It's a prop. And if it's obliterating your self-worth, your self-esteem to the point where you can't enjoy a holiday meal with your loved ones because you view TikTok or Instagram shortly before the meal, man, you need help. You need help. It is not the fault of social media. It is not the fault of diet culture. Stop blaming everybody else but yourself. And yes, I realize this woman may have come from a really, really depraved, dysfunctional family growing up. But apparently, she's not blaming whoever raised her on the way she is. She's blaming social media. She needs to put the blame. All social media is a facilitator of something that already exists. So if you have a dysfunctional way of thinking and of seeing yourself as a result of a rotten childhood where you were always made to feel worthless, where you could never measure up, you were always made to feel like you could never measure up, and then you grow up and you get mixed up with social media doesn't cause in your mind, in your head, what's already not there, which is a baseline of crippled self-esteem, crippled self-worth. It's already dismantled by your childhood. And all social media does is just ramp that up or facilitate further development of low self-esteem and feelings of worthlessness, but it's not the actual root cause. It may seem like it is. What you're seeing on social media, it's just a two-dimensional image, because everything on a screen is always two-dimensional, of course. It's not in person. You don't even know this person, it's a stranger, yet that person's body is screwing you up before your holiday meal or before any big meal for that matter. You can't blame social media. You just can't. It goes back to childhood. And I know I sound like a broken record. Social media is going to always be there. It's too much of a moneymaker to ever go away. Huge companies, the world's biggest companies, make a shit ton of money on social media. Social media is here to stay. You need to live with it and find out what's really going on with your psyche so you could get fixed. Close up those wounds once and for all. Okay, people, that is all for this video. Have a sensational, wonderful day.